Çok teşekkür ediyoruz değerli katılımcılarımız.
Thank you very much, distinguished panelists. BASF is the sponsor of this session. The title of the session is The Future of Production. In this session, the discussion points will be the future of production in Turkey, the effects of the Industry 4, and the digitalization will be discussed. I would like to invite Hüseyin Aydın, the General Manager of Ziraat Bank, to moderate the session. Welcome, Mr. Aydın. I also would like to invite our panelists, the CEO of Akkök Holding, Ahmet Dördüncü, BASF Turkey CEO, Buğra Kavuncu, Betek Boya General Manager, Tayfun Küçükoğlu, President and the CEO of Turkish Aerospace Industries, Temel Kotil, SOCAR Turkey CEO, Zaur, Gahramanov. I hope that this panel will be proven to be beneficial and fruitful for everyone. I also would like to say welcome to each and all of you. I would like to thank the directors of Economist and Capital magazines and all the other people who contributed to the organization of Uludağ Summit. The title of this session will be The Future of Production. We have very important speakers with us. One of our speakers is not with us yet. Hopefully, in the future, we will be able to speak with Süleyman Savaş Erdem in different sessions. Everybody knows that economic growth is the most important factor. The most important condition for the economic growth is the increase in the production output. And for that, we are in need of investors and demand, and we are also in need of a healthy, functioning economy and the ground and mature markets. And we are in need of labor force and a predictable future. And we also have to have right regulations which will regulate the economic conditions. Our economy is open to international market. In the global financial crisis, unfortunately, the global trade volume is reduced, and this actually had a negative impact on us. In the recent years, we see that the global trade volume recovered a little bit. In this session, I would like to ask what they are planning in order to increase the production and investments. I would like to start with Ahmet Dördüncü. As you can see, he is the CEO of Akkök Holding. Welcome. Mr. Ahmet, You are the leader of an industrial company. Do you think that Turkey is in need of new production investments, and what kind of investments can be done in the production manufacturing sector? What kind of investments should be avoided? And do you think that there are certain barriers for the new investments? If there are, what kind of barriers are present? Thank you very much. First of all, I also would like to thank our participants because we have a very intense day. We have listened to many panelists, and you are still here and you didn't leave, and this actually satisfies me. Do you think that we are in need of investment? Of course, we need investments. Why do we need investments? For employment, we need investment. For the economic growth of the country, we need investment. And in order to increase our welfare, we need investments. And Turkey has 2023 vision, and we would like to reach to certain points, and we would like to catch the developed countries. For all of those targets, we are in need of investments. But as we speak all of those issues, what kind of investments do we need? We have to be much more selective with regards to new investments. I believe for the last 35 to 40 years I have been involved in the industry, and if you take a closer look to the evolution of the industry in Turkey, you can remember that there was nothing in the market. Whatever you produce, you were able to sell. It doesn't matter with which quality you were producing, you were just distributing. It was not even selling. Most probably those times will be remembered by many of you, and we experienced those times. As the industry started to develop, we started to seek for quality and for the costs, because there was a growing competition at those times. Yes, quality and competition started to become very important for us, and it actually had an impact on our sales. But quality and the costs are also essential, but it is not differentiating you from the others. Of course, everyone today is taking a look at the quality of the product and its cost. There are certain essentials. When you invest, maybe I should start by speaking about the macroeconomic situation of Turkey so that we can actually understand what we should be taken into consideration. The Deputy Prime Minister has already mentioned, and we can say that the macroeconomy of the Turkey is quite strong, excluding certain items. One of the fragility of the Turkish economy is that the deposit savings are actually being reduced, and as a result of that, we have foreign capital dependency, and we have to attract foreign investments because we cannot do investments from our own savings, and we are trying to attract the savings of the foreign people because our savings are not enough. As we do this, as we are attracting the foreign investment and the foreign savings, as the Deputy Prime Minister said, the current account deficit of Turkey is increasing. As you attract money from abroad, this translates into an increasing amount of current account deficit. And one of the most important reasons for the current account deficit is the gap between import and exports. And if I'm not mistaken, each month we are speaking about an export record levels. And in 2016 and after 2017, I really would like to appreciate our export volumes, but we are always keeping our mouth shut when when the import ratios, import statistics are also being announced. The current account deficit ratio to GDP is 5.5% and 6%, and this translates into a high level of fragility in the economy. And we are seeing the effects of this fragility. For example, dollar is almost 4 Turkish liras and euro is almost 5 Turkish liras. And all of those issues are also the result of the geopolitical situation, but the current account deficit is also contributing to such aggravating situation. When you take a closer look to the current account deficit, there are two important reasons for that. One of them is the energy. Although Mr. Nihat said that we will be focusing on the national energy resources and we will try to have our national energy, but in terms of hydrocarbons, Turkey is not a rich country and we have to import those energy resources from abroad. And this is actually a topic to which we have to brainstorm and how we can actually make use of those energy resources much more efficiently. And the second current account deficit is actually coming from the chemistry sector. And in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, in the chemistry sector, there was this $25 billion of a gap between import and export. So the first important contributor to our current account deficit is the energy sector, and the second one is the chemistry sector. So we believe that our producers have a certain level of know-how and the intellectual property. So if we actually focus on this sector even further, maybe we will not eliminate this gap between imports and exports in the chemistry sector, but we can reduce it, and that is going to have an impact in the reduction of the current account deficit. The investments to be oriented to the chemistry sector will also serve as an input to many other sectors. So the indirect impact of the investments in the chemistry sector will be actually having positive results, actually even more than we have expected. One of the most important problems of the Turkish economy is that we are not actually dealing with the products with the added value. So we have to make use of each teeny tiny steps of the value. From edge to edge production we have to do. The first investments are the capital investments are the most expensive investments, and of course your return on such investments are relatively lower, but when you get closer to the consumer, when you are able to sell, then of course the return of investments will be even higher. Selling a fabric and selling a pants or a cloth will have different outcomes. So when we question to which places we have to invest, I believe chemistry sector is very important, and my holding and my group is aiming to actually develop itself in the chemistry sector. And we also would like to invest to the products with the added value. If you like, I can stop here so we can continue later on. Buğra, Kavuncu. You have 6 facilities in Turkey, and you are a very innovative company. Based on those information, what can you say about the production facilities in Turkey? What do you think do we need, and do you think that we are ready for industry 4? Thank you very much.
First of all, I would like to thank Rauf Bey and Talat Bey for this beautiful organization. On behalf of you, I would like to congratulate everyone. And for Turkish economy and Turkish promotion, it is very important, and hope that it will continue. This support will continue, will be sustainable. Ahmet Bey summarized the chemistry and also the current deficit issue and share after energy business, so I won't be repeating that. You're a world of the world leader companies. Our center is in Germany, in Ludwigshafen. We do have 115,000 employees. It's a big chemistry company. The Turkish industry, is it ready for 4.0? Is it ready for digitalization? We are obliged to become ready because our Deputy Prime Minister has just mentioned, in order to overcome the problems, in front of us, we need to produce value-added products. And moreover than digitalization, there is this point which is very important, very crucial. The major factor is we are not in the level of manufacturing value-added products yet. There is an area to jump up. We do have all the infrastructure from South Korea to the Hungary's eastern side. There is no other area to splash to be a splash zone. Russians, for example, when we look at the export amount, 80 million is totally that value-added products. When we look at Turkey, $150 billion and 120 is coming from the manufacturing side. This manufacturing industry is really playing a crucial role. It's got a very big scale. As a result, after the digitalization process, more value-added products are able to be catched as an advantage. Our industrial side is aware of this reality. In the previous months, we have come together with the Chamber of Industry, and we have had very interesting comments. The biggest barrier in front of the people is the business power, the labor force, the mentality, the logic, especially including the Anatolian industrial zone, is really having a difficulty. This young generation, which will be carrying on this transformation with the social life of the city, with the social structure of the city, needs to be restructured. Let me tell you an anecdote. And a conservative industrialist has said Bismillah, and he has read a statement from Quran, and he said this will not be changing. We have constructed that ski zone in RGS. We need to open a night club there. They would like to drink hot wine, but this is not something possible in such kind of a conservative city, he said. This is one of the barriers about the labor force. We do have conservative walls. On the other side, another example from our company why digitalization is essential for Turkey. We need to have foreseeable, predictable maintenance services. By implementing the sensors, predicting that unexpected situations may be prevented, even the accidents may be prevented. Our report, our carnet is very bad about the occupational accident. So from the construction, from the manufacturing side, every day we are losing an employee. So this report is not something very good for Turkey. Our report card is bringing us to a lower line, lower ranking in the world picture. Is it possible to create a world brand from Turkey was the question. Whenever we place a team in the world championships, whenever we win a prize in Nobel, it is possible to speak about the world brand which may come out from this country. Preventing those occupational accidents is very crucial to change the picture into a positive picture. So those accidents or unexpected situations needs to be foreseen, and this is very important. Making use of data is another matter of discussion. Maybe in the next sessions we may turn back to that topic, but Özgür Bey, in the previous session about the retailing business. For the final user, any type of information has been opened, he said, and he said that they are as transparent as they can be. The more you become digitalized, if your supplier, if your raw material side, if your customer side is not digitalized, then it will not bring any productivity in the level that you are aiming to reach. Last but not least, making use of that big data. With the digitalization, especially the stock planning, and making the right estimations, will be having a cost-effective result, and also the costs for the capital will also be lowered. Are we ready for that? Yes, we are ready for that, and we are aware of that. It is necessary to change. There are two main titles as a barrier in front of us. We should not miss this train. It is essential to be innovative. The first two speakers spoke about the bleeding wound and the opportunities to treat this wound, the investment zones to treat this wound. Tayfun Küçükoğlu is coming from the installation sector. What type of value you are creating? I would like to thank Rauf Bey, Talat Bey and his friends for adding value to our business. Every day there is a widening impact, and hope that it will continue in the next years. When we look at our industry, we are in the 6th place in the world. And as Boya, we started to produce construction dies for the industry. And in 2001, we have accomplished our objectives, and we have become the leader of the industry, and we have enriched ourselves. And look at the construction dies. Our country is not having any need for an imported product. And when we look at neighborhood countries, even including the western side, we do have a 10% of a capacity to export our products. Is Boya the youngest player of our industry to own the leadership value? In 2003, we have extended our targets, and we have all of these. We have started to work for sheeting systems, and we have jacketings and insulating systems. And insulating systems in 2003 was 1 million meters square. And 95% of the buildings were not being insulated. And we were also having a huge amount of energy import, and it was essential to contribute for the decrease of the current deficit. So 1 million meters square of an industrial zone has got our investment with 15 million square of an investment. We have taken the scaling, the right scaling, and insulating mobilization have started. We wanted to expand our industry in the growing market. We wanted to support and serve the needs of the market, and being not only the leader in Turkey but also in Europe, we wanted to be the leader. Since 2003, 148 million meters square of business have been done, and more than 5 million citizens' houses have been insulated. And moreover than this money, we have had savings from the energy. We have had a 6.5 billion saving, and when we discount the value-added tax, 5 billion liras of a current deficit has been declined with our contribution. And we do have less waste, and it was 11 billion tons of carbon dioxide. So 11 billion tons of million tons of carbon dioxide means that the Bolu forests, which is a very important oxygen source for our country, 8.5 times of this forest's oxygen production has been supported by lessening the carbon emission. We are earning, our household is earning, we are living in more comfortable houses, we are contributing to the current deficit of our country, and by 2017 our current deficit is $47 billion, and $40 billion of an energy import is present, and the total amount of the energy that we spend is $65 billion, and this $60 billion of consumption, 30%, the biggest share is because of the heating and cooling of the houses. Is being used for heating and cooling of the houses. The West, which is richer than us, is paying the half of this amount for their costs. And we are trying to treat these facts. And when we look at the volume, which we have reached to 23 million meters square, it is making us the biggest insulating company. And in the near future, we will continue our investments. We have constructed our Kayseri factory in Rize, in Balıkesir. We aim to be, we know that there is a climate change. And look at the disasters that we are facing. In 2005, with the Paris Protocol, until 2045, the global situation, the global climate situation will be worse. 1 degree Celsius of an increase will be taking place, which will be having a huge impact. And so insulation technology is going to continue to invest for the future needs, future changing needs. Thank you. You're coming from Turkish Airlines, and you have also been the leader of Turkish Aerospace Industries. What should we do in order to serve the needs of Turkey? What are our strong sides, and what should we do in order to do more? You're asking the manufacturing, right? Hello, everyone. It's a very good meeting. I would like to continue from the previous speaker. You need to be a player. All around the world, you need to be a player. Whatever activity we do. If we do not come to the level of 5%, we have no place in the world market. As a Turkish product, we are not able to succeed. We do have TUSAŞ and TAIK, which we use in 2 different languages. We do have original products. We are having the Warrior planes, and in 2029 we will be delivering them to be served. At the technological level, we are at the top level. There is no beyond the technology we are using right now. We do have 2,500 engineers, and it will be going up to 10,000. Lockheed Martin has got 50,000 engineers. These are the figures on the technological ground. Okay, our Turkish engineers are also present. One of my Turkish engineers, he is very valuable for me, but we are just staying at this point. We need to be high in science, and we need to be the ones who are coming from this business. We know how to insulate. We need to know how to design. We are in need of the architects. Unfortunately, we don't have them in Turkey. Since we do not have all of these sources in Turkey, human sources, we were not able to manufacture our own automobiles. We were not able to construct our aircrafts. For example, we do have an example, but this is not enough. In order to have the highest technology in the field of chemistry, it must be the same. In order to be the world leader, we need to look at the person who knows this job best. And we are bringing this person, we are working with the foreigners. And you need to give a high salary to those people. They're almost taking the CEO salary, but okay, because they're coming from the process. So where am I going to wrap up? In the construction business, we are the second, and we do not seek for being the first. Hopefully our construction companies will be achieving that soon, but in high technology, in the field of pharmacology, in the chemistry, in aviation, hope that we will be in the second place. As TAI, our business is becoming the first 10 big defense companies. Approximately our turnover was $2 billion and aiming to reach the $10 billion. And we do have intern engineer system. We do have 500 interns in Ankara and in Istanbul facilities working for a day. We will be increasing it to 2,000. Every year, 2,000 engineers will be working with our own engineers to train them. We are aiming them to make our 10,000 engineers. And thanks to God, we have accomplished very good things as Turkey. Sometimes we were the first place, sometimes we were in the second place, but the high technology. The money is hidden in the high technology. The difference between a flying thing and a non-flying thing is 10 times more. So flying, I'm not speaking to fly a ship, but when we look at the spent engineering money, it is changing from $500 million to $5 billion. You are spending that money for designing and making the prototype. Maybe a non-flying vehicle is not having such kind of an expenditure, but when you're selling that product, it is an added value product, so that you're selling it with a higher price than the land vehicle. So Turkey needs to be a player within the industry. In order to be a player, we need to produce, we need to manufacture. You're able to play if you have a ball. I am totally supporting the other industries. We do have digital transformation, but it is only making our size a little bit higher. We need to have product. And the product, if it is the United States or it is in Germany, we need to have a competitive product, a technological product to compete. And we don't have any problem in making projects. TAI has got 5 helicopter projects, 1 jet training aircraft, and 2 satellite and Boeing Airbus. I have more projects than Boeing Airbus. I mean, the state is bringing me new projects day by day. There is nothing missing on the project side. Maybe on the pharmaceutical side, there is also a support. What is missing on our side, in our industry, is the people who do have an experience, the expert of this field. We don't have a lot of experts. I don't want to speak in general, but in my own industry, we don't have anyone who has designed a training aircraft. We don't have any jet designer. And so if we try to educate them in our own universities, it will not be enough. So we are in need of importing. Let's import the knowledge and let's construct them here. Let's manufacture them here.
Zaur Bey, hoş geldiniz.
Well, welcome, Zaur, Mr. Zaur, because as Petkim and Star Refinery projects and TANAP projects were among the big projects that you have in Turkey, and you are investing a lot. We would like to thank you in Turkey. What kind of a potential there is in Turkey inside of the fields that you were present, and what kind of dynamics you are using, and what do you plan for the future? Thank you. Thank you very much. By the way, this is my first participation in this summit, and I would like to thank Capital and economist magazines, and we really spend good times here. I'm generally mentioned as Mr. Gahramanov in the state level, but I mean such kind of investments are actually being carried out with the same mentality and the same logic. And in the recent years, we have actually invested $19.5 billion, and as you said in your speech, 10 to 11 actually $billion of this investment has been done to the Alia Petchem refinery and to our Starkim sort of projects. As you already know, we privatized Petchem, but we are still spending hundreds of millions of dollars in order to develop Petchem. And this current account deficit should be tackled and solved. And in order to do that, all the investments should be oriented to the same industry. Together with the Star Refinery, hopefully we will be recovering $1.5 billion of the Turkish current account deficit, and hopefully we will be able to use it with the full capacity. Of course, good speeches have been delivered, and I also would like to actually agree with that. And with regards to the TANA project, starting from July, 6 billion cubic meters of gas will be coming from Azerbaijan to Turkey, and this will, of course, improve the Turkish economy. And Turkey will become an energy hub from the eastern side as well, and Turkey is actually becoming an energy hub in itself anyway. Mr. Buğra already mentioned digitalization is also going on in Petchem as well, and we have done a lot of projects in Petchem, and $50 million was the amount of saving as Petchem, and such process have been carried out, and our projects are going on, and they will be going on in the future as well. A country like Turkey, well, I'm actually speaking like a CEO of a Turkish company, because I mean we are managing $20 billion of assets, so it is actually like the amount of the assets of the Azerbaijan. And we also have to be involved in the research and development studies, and we have a long-term commitment, and we will actually establish the big R&D center in the Aegean side. It is going to be a science center, by the way, and we all hope that the state will also take part in this project, and we will be able to conduct common projects. I mean, we can actually give lands to anyone who would like to contribute and collaborate. Petrochemical industry will have this new facility, and hopefully with these new investments, and by the way, I will be speaking about them in the second round, $47 billion is the current account deficit, and $33 billion of this account deficit is coming from the energy sector. And even if we can actually solve the problem of this current account deficit by 10% after our common investment, then the Turkish economy can improve, because we have long-term plans for Turkey, and Turkey is our second home and our doorway to the global economies, and we have this 5-year and 6-year term plans, and hopefully we will contribute to the closing of the gap of Turkish current account deficit by 10%. Thank you very much. Well, our brother country, Azerbaijan, we know that you have great investments in Turkey, and we would like to thank you for your investments. Well, every of our speakers were speaking about the high technology, usage of high technology, and investing in the value-added products, and they were speaking about channelizing the investments to the limited resources. When we say, of course, investment, the banks come to our minds. Most probably will not receive huge criticisms. Do you think that the banks are contributing to this new production model? Do you think that the banks are actually ready? Because banks are used to finance smaller sectors, but do you think that the banks can give credits to such kind of big dreams and assertive dreams? You can criticize as you like. Each speaker has 5 minutes. Please use your time efficiently. Well, in general terms, I can say that I don't have any special criticism for the bankers, because they are doing their jobs and they are selling money with a certain cost, and they are actually financing our credit needs. But I believe there is also one point that the banks cannot control as well. When we invest, when we want to invest for infrastructure like energy sector or chemistry sector, or like the investments that the SOCAR Turkey is doing, then we are in need of long-term credits. When we say long-term credits, we are speaking about credits for 8 years, 9 years, or even 10 years. And we are able to find those credits, those loans. But the biggest dilemma in here, unfortunately, we are not able to find them with the Turkish lira. And when we cannot find those loans with the Turkish lira, unfortunately, our balance sheets are affected by that. So if you cannot hedge those loans with the appropriate pricing, then it's a problem, because the hedging costs are quite high. So the biggest problem for the industrialists who are focusing on the long-term projects like Akkök holding, then it is actually a problem. Well, the panelists actually speak the same thing, and we are doing the same thing as well. When we say the high-tech technology, Akkim is also focusing on the social responsibility projects. And this was the water week, and we are producing ultrafiltration in order to be able to use actually water once again, in order to recycle water. Especially in the recent years, $25 and $30 million of investment have been done for different types of paints and dyes. And I totally agree with Temel. We have cooperation with the Dow Chemicals and carbon fibers that we produce can actually go even to Thailand for actually as a fabric, and these are high-tech products. AXA, for example, it is one of the biggest companies for the acrylic fiber, and they have the capacity of 15% in the global markets. So it is really actually exciting to hear that all of our colleagues, all of our speakers are speaking the same language. Well, since there is not enough savings for Turkish liras, unfortunately we have to borrow with the foreign exchange. And for the long term, unfortunately, we have to borrow money from the banks with the foreign exchange. But do you think that the banks can actually solve this? Maybe you know the answer better than me, but this is the biggest bottleneck that we have. We really want to borrow in the long term with the Turkish lira with the reasonable interest rates, and this will definitely facilitate the hands of the industrialists for the long-term projects. Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Buğra. I definitely agree with what Mr. Ahmet says, because we are also having lots of transactions with the foreign exchange. I mean, you can reduce the entry costs as possible as you can, but to what extent you can control the fluctuations in the foreign exchange? The Deputy Prime Minister also said and mentioned in his speech. Once again, I will be going back to the digitalization and the issue of digitalization. The operational capital cost to be able to control them is not easy, and with the simulation you can actually make those investments much more feasible. The companies who actually integrated digitalization into your system, maybe as banks you can give priority to such kind of companies. Are you going to say something? Yes, we can do positive discrimination for such companies. We are actually an international company. In the last 2 years, we also followed what is going on in Turkey, and we are also trying to explain the situation to our headquarters, because we don't want our headquarters to lose its appetite to invest in Turkey. As a citizen of Republic of Turkey, I don't want this. But in order to overcome and tackle those economic crises, and after so many crises, the Turkish economy is quite resilient because the banking sector is quite strong. And hopefully this will be the case in the future, and the international institutions are underlining it. Another topic is about the cyber attacks. Cooperation can be realized between banks and the companies, because this is a threat, rather than actually going into the buildings and stealing the money of the people. Those actually stealing activities are carried out online, so the private sector can actually cooperate with the banks in that regard. What can be done in collaboration with the banks? We are actually addressing many different sectors. We have this plant preservation group, and the maturity date of the loans can go up to 150 days. And in the automotive sector, the expectations are totally different, and we have to evaluate each sector separately. And after that, maybe we can actually find tailor-made solution for each sector. As Mr. Ahmet already mentioned, we will be opening an innovation center. The production of the technological products are really important for Turkey. And new product concepts will be discussed in this ecosystem, in this platform, and that's what we are trying to accomplish. We have actually many presence in many different sectors, and it will definitely reduce its threat. Polyethylene, which are used in the greenhouses, and their negative impacts on the environment will be reduced through our biodegradable products. So we are addressing to many different sectors. Maybe for social projects, the banks will have a different approach in the future. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Tayfun, I will be asking the same question to you. What do you think and what do you expect? First of all, thank you very much for your sincere question. In the banking sector, we are proud of our banking sector. If there is actually a development, this is happening from the banking sector and the support of the banking sector. But I do have an expectation. And I also would like to say why I'm expecting this.
Actually, the process that we are experiencing is globalizing. Digitalization is increasing. And all of these things are totally terminating the borders between countries, and the world is working as a whole nation. Individuals and countries are very easily having the impact of the other nations and citizens. So we are experiencing such kind of a process, as this impact is being very high in dosage. Surprise developments and opportunities needs to be readily weighted. And surprise traps and also crisis situations, we need to be resistant. And we need to do what we are doing in the past better than yesterday. So otherwise, we will be totally torn into pieces. With less sources, we need to do more business. And as the industrial side, not only the competition in our country, but also the global competition should be taken as a main concern and needs to move and take actions in according to the global competition. And we should be aware that we should get ready with the awareness that there is a global competition. The industrial infrastructure needs to be invested. Today is the 30th year of Boya, and this is my 30th year in this business. For 30 years with our German partners, we have always been on the consensus, on the negotiating ground. There are one topic. One of them is Lufthansa. They were not using planes. 10 years ago, we have broken their habit. And Temel, I have shared my appreciation. They do not use any other airline than Turkish Airlines. And there is one point that I cannot tell the German people, which is very interesting. We are, in average, having the supply, raw material supply, within a month or 45 days. In order to provide the needs of our customers, actually, we are importing now with Forex and paying it within 2 months and selling them in 6 months. And I could not explain the German side why we are doing this business in this way. They could not figure out the reason. What type of a banking sector industry do you have? Why don't you pass the ball to the banks? Actually, our banking sector can finance the distribution line cost effectively, and the risk management can be done in a better way. So in that respect, what can we do? In this process, the matrix of this process is beyond our own capability. We need to be collective. We cannot act as a monopoly. So we need to make 3 out of 1 plus 1. Our expectation from the industrial side, and the industrial side's expectation, is the interference of banking sector to our business. We do have limited capital which is being provided from you, and R&D and technology needs to be developed, and we need to be more competitive for the global competition, and we need to spend this money for better contributions for our country. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. On behalf of the sector, I would like to thank the distribution side has taken into account, so we need to take rapid actions, I am aware. We know of the credit. Temel Bey, you don't have a direct relationship with the banking business, but your partners do have. When you're carrying on big projects, what is your relation with that credit deposit issue? What are your expectations? Maybe the biggest investments are being taken in the field of defense industry, and technology and engineering opportunities are increasing. Of course, we are the product designers. $100 million of an amount is being allocated to the subsectors. The future of Turkey is passing through the technological investments. $10,000, $30,000, 2023 growth targets, objectives is asking for such kind of demands. So the banks should have a positive discrimination. I don't know whether we can do it without Undersecretary from Treasury or not. For example, the interest rate was 3. It is not. If it is very easy to finance an aircraft with such a low amount of interest, then our banks, our undersecretaries should find a positive approach, a positive discriminative approach. Those technological investments are very hard, very risky investments. And if you give a 10-year support, at the end of 10 years, they will be paying you back with 10 times more amounts. Okay, thank you very much. Zaur Bey, you are doing big investments, not only with the Turkish banks in different parts of the world. You are working with different banks. From the Turkish banks and from the global banks, what are your expectations, difficulties, and partnerships? Let me tell you, Turkish banks have always supported us in all of our projects. I will be telling something practical. $3.4 billion of a startup project has been brought by us. Garanti Bank was included in this consortium. We wanted to do it with the Turkish banks. For 8 months, we have gone to the doors of the Turkish banks. We have spoken about the pricing, everything. At one point, we could not reach to a consensus time. Turkish banks are not giving loans for 10 years, 15 years. Is it possible to give a 16-year of loan? They have questioned us. If it was not 15 or 16 years, we would be giving. Yes, we have tried to negotiate. We have reached to a consensus on 10. Some of the banks have committed to give 12 years, but they did not go up to 16 years. For the big industrial projects, their approach should change, like ton-up type projects, big-scale projects would like to involve Turkish banks. 15, 16 years should be accepted. Otherwise, this money will be going to the foreign banks. The colleagues are also telling the same thing. On the commercial side, commercial project financing side, on the month of July, a new refinery is coming. 150,000 tons of ship will be arriving each day. $1 billion of capital is essential for the arrival of these ships. Unfortunately, the Turkish banks are not taking this risk. In the commercial financing side, Turkish banks, when we compare it with Swedish and French banks, we say we are an international company. We mentioned that. So there are different sources that we can find. And we have looked at the prices. With a new scheme or with a different approach, if the Turkish bank sees us, the money will be kept within the country. So it will not be contributed to any Turkish company or any Turkish bank. I understand that cost of money is a really big concern. I understand their hesitation. We need to work very closely with the banks in order to convince them. The commercial project financing should be supported. This is very crucial, not only for us, but also for the big investors. As a result, we expect them to be open to such kind of investments. And the distribution companies financing, in Petchem, we see the same example. Normally, it was 90 days. It reached to 150 days. This is something normal in Turkey. We are approaching it normal for Turkey. This is something specific for Turkey. So it's got a specific cycle. So Petchem is it was a known brand. It was easy to carry on the operations with them. But with a foreign, an unknown brand, it is very hard for them to understand. We are only requesting them, hope that one day they will be convinced and work with us. We are obliged to use time economically. In this part, if you have anything else to say, Ahmet Bey, anything more? Last but not least, what you have asked in the beginning, I would like to go back to the question which you have asked in the beginning. Don't we have any investment in Turkey? Of course, there are some investments. In which fields there is no investment? As Temel has just mentioned, for high technology fields, we do not see huge amount of investments. carbon, for example, fiber, and Temel-based investments about the aircraft industry. It is essential to make more value-added type of investments are essential to be made. It is not a matter of taking out the mine. So you need to process that mine and you need to create the highest value and do the investments according to that. Any barrier in front of us? We don't have any barrier in front of us. On the contrary, such kind of incentives are being supported by the state in some certain business areas, certain industries. They are providing incentives and supporting them till the very end. So there is a new approach from the state side. On the 29th of the month, we will be discussing it with the Prime Minister. And also, we will be looking at we will be discussing it with the President also, and we will be discussing what type of a value will be added. So there is a supportive approach on the state side. I will be turning back to Temel Bey's point. We are in need of human source, and we need to train and educate them. Otherwise, the investing areas are very obvious. Very briefly, the future of production and the impact of digitalization. For 136 years we are in Turkey. We will be celebrating our 50th year for the Turkish industry on the technological ground. In order to produce the high technology, we will be giving our full support. Digitalization will make the world better because the data and also transparency and eco-friendly approaches and stock plannings and investment plannings will be more efficient, more feasible, and hope that the world will be having less occupational accidents. Digitalization will bring some risks, unemployment, especially with the blue colors. It has started with the white colors. We will be seeing the loss of employment. The author of Homo sapiens book has got a theory, which I totally agree. In the near future, we need to follow it very closely. The world is entering to a new era, a technological era. Before that, the ones who were holding the soil in their hand were having the power. It was creating a class, aristocrats and villagers. Later on, they have lost it with the industrialization. The machinery owners have created a class, and the capitalist and proletarian classes have appeared. And now, with the digitalization, with the big data, they call it dataism. Harari calls it dataism. Data now, maybe you follow it with the information which Facebook is giving us. The owner of this digital information will create some power relations, and this doesn't have any regulation. There is a digital dictatorship threat awaiting us within 10 or 20 years. Yes, it has got some benefits, but I would like to underline, we need to be cautious about its threats. Digital, in order to regulate this situation, in order not to face with digital dictators, we need to take some preventive actions. Last 4 minutes. The world is tremendously evolving, and the borders are terminating. If we do not develop the process in our country, we are having a gap. 380 processes are ongoing, and we are touching each of them to develop them. And we are obliged to focus on our business. We need to have a high level of energy, and we need to have high level of commitment. We need to trust our citizens. We need to believe in the development potential. Whenever we give up doing these, whenever we start to see the empty side of the bottle, when we lose the energy of development, we will be having a weak belly. So we need to see the right side of the glass, and we need to establish right strategies. And with the right strategies, I believe that the gap between the developed countries will soon be filled in. since last year, all of our organization is hearing my statement of Rumi. The good days are not coming to you. You need to walk through the good days. So I believe that we do have the right climate to walk through the good days.
Temel
Başkanım ben de
Bey,
kısaca
buyurun.
söyleyeyim.
Buyurun.
Şimdi
Well, Turkey has 2023 targets, and we want to be at the top 10 economy. And this also means that we would like to be the best economy in the world. And I came from Istanbul, and Bridges liked me a lot. We have credits for such kind of projects, and I used the third bridge to come here, and we came very fast. And for the upcoming 10 years, we should only focus on the technological products and the value-added products, and hopefully the banks will support us as well. I don't know at what place we will be in the Europe, but we will definitely be one of the top 10 economies. Zaur, being the last speaker is not easy because everything is said already. We will continue with our investments, and we are about to finish our industrial projects, and a new petchem will be initiated to be constructed, and this is also among the targets this is actually in line with the targets of the 2023. And at the same time, I'm also agreeing with this call. I hope that Turkey will not be an importing company, but an country, but an exporting country. And we have to initiate new projects in Turkey. And I totally respect BASF company, but as such kind of a company like BASF might be established in Turkey, this is our target. We have ambitious goals, and hopefully if we worked all together, we will be able to realize it. And we have consulted this issue with the government as well, and they actually enacted this private industrial zone law, and this first zone will be given to us, and altogether if there is a need, we are also open for collaborations and partnerships. Whenever you have a project, please come and we will actually work on those projects so that Turkey can actually prosper. I will use my 10 seconds in order to wrap up. In summary, all of our panelists said that it is not enough to produce only for Marmara region or only for Bursa, also not for Turkey and not Europe. We have to produce for the globe. When we produce and manufacture for the world, then we will solve this current account deficit problem, and we will provide employment opportunities, and we will become a bigger economy. And the Turkish society will reach out to its desired place. Once again, I would like to thank our panelists, and I also would like to thank to our participants for their patience. Thank you so much.
Evet, tüm panelistlerimize çok
We would like to thank to all of our panelists, distinguished guests. The next session title is The Future of Society. Right now we will watch the movie of Citibank.
Years of city history matter to you? Well, because it tells us something powerful about progress. That whether times are good or bad, people and their ideas will continue to move the world forward as long as they have someone